What's happening, guys? I hope you all have a great weekend or are having a great weekend. It's 82 degrees here in New England, New Hampshire, and it's one of the nicest days, or it is the nicest day of the year. So it kind of made me remember, or at least remind myself, make sure that, these trades that I'm taking are, good. I'm not just trading to trade. I'm trading the A-plus moves because it seems like, there's always that one trade coming into the summer that, things shift. The market shifts, and maybe not this year just because there's just so much volatility and, there's so much opportunity right now. I just cannot see it changing. But, in prior years, everybody's always like, is the summer slow? No, not necessarily. I mean, the last 4 or 5 years, it's been, insane. But, sometimes there is that little bit of a change that you're not really ready for, and you kind of overhold something or something that worked last month doesn't work this month, but you tried to force the trade, and then you end up, with some dumb loss. And instead of, going for a walk outside when it's nice out, you're, at your desk trying to figure out how to make the money back. So it's a good reminder now that the weather's turning to stay on your A game, stay firing all cylinders, stick with your rules, don't break your rules, and continue to try to figure out a better way every single time. One of the biggest things that's been happening lately, especially in IU has been incredibly hot. A lot of great trades, a lot of great opportunities. For those of you guys that subscribe to a bunch of different news services, a lot of times we've got it first, and then other ones pick it up from there. So it's a huge benefit to be in the room, and people are making some career moves right now, career trades, career weeks, career months, whatever it may be. And one of the common things that I've heard is, you still a lot of frustration. I should be up more. I should have made more. I should have done this. Should have done that. And no matter where you go, no matter what you do, no matter what, unless you're a hermit, somebody's always going to make more, right? Unless you're trading by yourself, in a hole, and you're talking to no one, then you're always going to have people to compare to. You're always going to have other trades that you could have, would have, should have, done certain things. So I've been having a lot of those conversations just because people are absolutely crushing it right now, but still not happy. But I want to remind people that you got to really focus on the trade at hand. And the reason why you made the profits that you made are because you were comfortable with that trade that you took. And trading should be comfortable. It's when we start going for those big gains that we start to kind of, make decisions that we maybe normally wouldn't make. We start to, maybe push the envelope a little bit where we know better, and then we walk into those big traps. So understand that the gains that you made is because that's where your comfort level was. There's always room for improvement. You're never going to master the market, like I said before. So continually work, continually see what you could have done better, where you could have sized in more. What could you have done that would have made the trade better? That way, next time when you see that same trade set up, you're ready to go. And I think that that's really the biggest point that you can take right now, because like I said, I'm getting a ton of PMs of people just quadrupling accounts, doubling accounts, you name it. And that's great. But if you're frustrated because somebody else made more, or you could have, that's just never good. So focus on, or at least be inspired by others making a lot more, but don't focus on that. Focus on what you can do tomorrow to make yourself better. Focus on what you can do on the next trade to be better. And I think the biggest thing with this type of market is understanding that what I've said before, you only need to get rich once, right? And I'm not talking about millions and millions of dollars, but giving yourself the best shot, building that account. Stop going to try to be a hero on certain trades. Use this time to build up that account. Stop trying to overdo it. Take advantage of the trades, move on. Take advantage, move on. It's a trader's market. If you're overholding things, you're going to get chopped up like crazy. So take advantage of the moves. There's a lot of liquidity, which is great because that means you can size in more than you might, otherwise have been able to before. But the most important part is taking that trade, because when you are sized up and the trade reverses, if you don't stick with the plan, if you don't stop out, that's when you're going to run into trouble. So one thing that helps me with that, and one thing that I posted, and the point that I wanted to talk about tonight, was verbalizing your trade plans. And I was talking to Josh Cherniak, who is one of our moderators at Investors Underground. And, he's been doing well. And like I said, a lot of people are doing well. And he's been talking to a bunch of different people. And what is your biggest change? What have you done differently that you think has attributed to a lot of your success lately? And I said, honestly, ever since I started doing Sunday scans and doing the morning call, for those of you guys that don't know, every morning I grab the mic at about 8:50 a.m. It used to be 9 a.m., but it's too busy by 9 a.m. So about 8:50 a.m. to 8:57, 8:58 a.m., first 7-8 minutes. I record it, and then I send it right out to the members. Either they catch it live or they can watch the replay. But during that time, tonight when I'm doing this Sunday scan and during those morning calls, I'm verbalizing what I want to do. I'm verbalizing my trade plan. I want to short this if it breaks this level. And then I'm in the trade and I'm looking at it and I'm starting to short, and I'm like, I just said on the microphone that I want to short if it breaks this level. Why am I short here? And so it kind of alerts you. It makes you more alert as to what your trade plan was and if you're veering away from what your goal was. And a lot of times I might be dabbled into that trade and then ask myself, is that what I said? No. So get out. Wait for that trade to come in, what you verbalized, what you said. And so Tyler, one of the guys that works with me at IU, one of the biggest things that I've noticed anyway with him, he's starting to heat up and do, extremely well. He's always been the slow, steady, consistent like I used to be. But he's starting to compound those gains. And, I had about a couple weeks ago, he's consistently making, X. And he's like, I know I'm leaving a lot on the table, but, I told him I feel like you come to the market and you just kind of pick, what you're going to trade. And you're a good trader, so you kind of figure out, okay, I'm going to buy this and buy that, short that, short that. But confidence and patience and the elimination of emotions comes from confidence in the daily chart. So make sure you get prepared on, like I'm doing tonight, get prepared for the trades that you want to take and look at the daily charts. Get confident based off of daily support and resistance. It's going to help you. And then one of the other buddies, Helder, who a lot of you guys know that have gone out to Vegas for Traders for a Cause. He's also chairman of the board for Traders for a Cause this year as well. He's been in my office, every maybe twice a month when he can, twice, 3 times a month. But he's got 2 great mentors. Giving myself a lot of credit, but also another really great friend of mine who is probably the best trader that I know. One of the things for him was I was telling him, you can learn from the best guy, which he was learning from the best guy, but that doesn't mean it fits your personality. So you still need to kind of figure out what fits with your personality and take what you learn from him, take what you learn from me, take what you've learned from other people, and figure out what works for you. And so one of the other things that he wasn't doing was kind of verbalizing those trades. So every morning now he's like, hey, these are my main watches. Bam. That's it. That's all he watches. If the trade comes, great. If not, who cares? Then at least he's not in some, random stuff. The other thing that I talked about on the Traders for a Cause Project Impact speech was putting that stop loss in, the hard stop. No matter what, bam, you're out. So before, he might take a trade and say, whatever, I'm gonna get in because I know this usually works, but his risk might have been out of check. So now he looks at it and says, okay, is my risk above X? Then maybe I should cool it, start in with a little bit less, see if I'm right, scale in a little bit more, scale in a little bit more. And literally those two changes, verbalizing trades and, the stop loss, straight, complete reversal in his trading. So some big changes that I've seen made, and, just make sure that you guys are doing this kind of stuff. Try it. Say it out loud. Ask the questions that you ask in the room, say it out loud. A lot of times you're going to actually answer the question yourself. So anyway, what else did we want to talk about? Verbalizing trades, free webinar. On Thursday, we've got a free webinar for everybody. So if that link will be below. So make sure you sign up for that. No catch, no nothing. It's just totally free. I'm going to go over basically trading on all cylinders and, the state of the market at the moment and kind of what's working, what's not, and, how I'm staying at this level. MDGS, trade idea on last Sunday's scan. We talked about the 220 level and how it was holding up and, how it could potentially be a liquidity trap type play. Ended up having that swing and nice 80% move on Friday. So congrats to those that took advantage of that. Cruises in the travel sector. The idea on scan was for CCL and NCLH for a short earlier last week, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I want you guys to take a look at that one. Kind of getting a feel for what stocks are overextended. We had CCL, we had NCLH. The prior days, we had NAT, which was a shipper. We had BBBY, which was a retail name. And I'm just looking for these stocks that are going straight up without any correction. And when that happens, that's when we have opportunity. There's a difference between something like Wayfair, W, that's going straight up, but consolidating on the way, and something like NAT or BBBY, which is just going, legitimately straight up. So I want you guys to take a look at the difference between those two. Firing on all cylinders, we talked about that, feedback in the room, and really, somebody's always going to be making more. Focusing on, yourself and how you can better the trades. Don't just focus on your losers. Everybody's like, you can learn so much from your losers. Right now, there's a lot of winning, but that's only good if you're winning the right way, right? If you're winning by being reckless, at some point, maybe it's going to take a long time, but at some point, it will catch up. So you want to make sure that, even if you got away with it, even if you were reckless and you averaged down and you went, crazy size and it just happened to work out, you got to at least verbalize it to yourself that that's not okay. Otherwise, it's going to happen again, and it's not going to bounce, or it's not going to pull back, right? So I had another friend of mine, Joe, who has been posting some great P&L. I talked to him on a couple of names. When he posts them, I'm like, great job, but I don't like how much you made on this name. And, the PEC was one of the examples, PECK. And I said, I don't like that you made that amount, because that means you had X short, and what if it didn't pull back after that halt? What if it didn't do that? So I always like to kind of look at, all these different opportunities and what's going on, and make sure that, my risk is in check. And, likewise with Joe and Helder and Tyler and all these different friends of mine, we always kind of bounce back the same kind of feedback to each other. Other than that, A+ opportunities, I repeating myself over and over and over again. You don't need to trade every opportunity out there. It's fine to dabble into names. There's a difference between, trading and A+ setups, right? You want to get in there, you want to push the buttons, you want to get familiar, learn new things. That's fine. But there's a difference between that and the ones. And the ones are what's going to change your month, your year, and really take you to that next level. So I want you guys to really focus on what you're best at, what your best trade is, and then focus on just that and try to perfect it as best as you can. And, just like CCL, NCLH, I was setting up. Don't pre-exhaust. We talk about being on the front side. We talk about the lines, look left. We talk about all these things. If you don't know what I'm talking about, go to check out some of the YouTube videos. We've done a bunch of things on them. So make sure you're aware of that situation. when it, pre-exhaustion. And a lot of times just verbalizing it will help you. Wish orders helps me huge. When things wash out, I want to be there. At least some. Not all of it, but at least some. Because a lot of times, we might have a flush, it snaps right back up, right? Flush, snap back. And if I was not there, I would not have filled. And I might have had increased size because I was anticipating this crack, but I missed the opportunity to get out. And then it's up to me not to be stubborn to, kind of fight the trend. So I really like having wish orders out there, covering some along the ways. I can always re-add right away. But I would venture to say that most of the time I get filled on those wish orders, I'm happy that I did. And then it builds up that core realized gain and allows me to be more patient on the rest. I think that's pretty much it. The only other comment I was going to say with Helder is, he used to send me a lot of charts with timid covers, right? So he'd kind of scale into weakness, and then it'd bounce up a little bit, and he'd have some timid covers, right? So focus on when things are kind of channeling, right? And if you're hammering down into the support, then you're probably going to be covering into the potential resistance. You don't know if it's going to be resistant. Sometimes it goes right through it a little bit and scares you out. But the biggest change I've seen with him, he's not chasing any money. He's waiting for the setups, and he's locking into the flushes, trading around the core, and switched the entries from down here to up here, and the covers to down here instead of up here. And just that small flip, if you pull your chart out, start looking macro, start thinking about big picture, you're going to see that there's a better way to trade. There's a less emotionally driven kind of way to trade. And most people do exactly that. Choppy, get caught, and this is a great example of somebody that's kind of been working hard to not do that. So other than that, congrats to those guys that did take advantage of the workouts. There was about 5 or 6 of us that I put it in scan the other day on Twitter. So we had London, we had Canada, we had somewhere else, Puerto Rico. But nice workouts with Zach. So anybody that is interested, there's information on the scan. So the scan is in the link below. But you can reach out to Zach, and he's giving everybody a free week of it to check it out. I do it with him 4 times a week. So Mondays are always crazy. It's a great way to get down fast, real quick, right off the open. You've been itching to trade all weekend. You're ready to go. You see the first thing jumping up. And I think that it's my most important day to kind of put the brakes on. Let's wait. Let's see what happens, and let's get a feel for what's going on. And I'd rather be late to a trade than early. I'd rather be as I always say, 20 to 50 cents late than 1 to 2 early, right? So keep that in mind on your first trades on Monday. But before we get into scan, I don't want to forget, we have a free webinar on Thursday at 8 p.m. So the link is going to be right below. You can go ahead and sign up. Again, it's free. Check it out, and we'll be doing that at 8 p.m. Thursday. Let's get right into it. GNMK. GNMK has been going straight up. They have earnings on Monday, after hours. They've pre-announced already, so it may not matter, but at the same time, everybody may say, hey, it may not matter, but I think it'll matter. And whatever move it does have, I want to be part of. If it does like a breakout, I'm going to be watching for it to fail. So I'm going to keep this on watch. You can see on the daily, there's been a seller, up at this 13 level each day, goes up, pulls back, goes up, pulls back. But at the same time, there's been a buyer soaking it up. So I think they had a major short trap here on the daily, and they've just literally been squeezing out since. So we'll see what happens. But this move is probably not sustainable. But with that said, it's gone a hell of a lot further than I would have thought. So therefore, you don't want to jump in front of it. You want to wait for the tide to change. So I will wait. I'm patient. And, 1220s has been like a key level. You can see kind of 1240s. So I'll be watching and I'll be setting price alerts to alert me when this comes in, right? So I'll set a price alert, 1220, 1230, 1250, 13, 1350, 14. I want to keep being alerted that it's going up as well as down. SPCE, this was a major one. Alert in the room, 1612. 1610, 1612. They had a headline out on their website and nobody had seen it. And so we got it in the room, 1610, 1612. And then Bloomberg and a bunch of others picked it up about 9 minutes later. So it was already $1.20 higher. They picked it up. They ran the headline. And that's just one of the benefits to being in IU. So this was a great opportunity. I think it caught shorts off guard a little bit. So I'd like to see it squeeze out a few more times, but you can see that 18 kind of had a little bit of difficulty. So any gap up, shove through 18, I'm thinking it's going to pull back. And this all depends on if we're, gapping up on the markets or, gapping down. If we're kind of selling off still on the overall market, then I like the pops versus, 18. If we're gapping up, I'm going to be watching for 1820, 1850, and then maybe sit back towards the 18 level. But I don't want to get too aggressive, but I do think coming off this daily chart, you can kind of see that's a pretty deep reversal. So sometimes, everybody's being patient with the short because it's working perfectly, and then all of a sudden you're, down $2 a share. That happens fast, and it did happen fast. So with that said, it might need to squeeze out shorts a little bit longer. And again, set your price alerts. So, I'd want to know at 1750, 1740s, 1720s, this VWAP level, that's when you're going to start to see it unwind. ARCT. This one, you got to assume that, it's going to continue higher. I just want to stay familiar with it. This will be a great trade. It's already pulled back, and it's already, kind of pulled back, consolidated this day, pulled back, came back, pulled back again. So this can keep on going, but I want to keep my radar on. I want to set price alerts. I don't want to miss it because the day that it does pull back, $5, $6, $7, $8, I want to be there. But for now, hopefully 45, 50, let it keep on going. So CCL and NCLH, these are going to be still my main watches. They were a fantastic trade on Friday after being a fantastic trade on Thursday. I thought a lot of people would probably be afraid to short the morning pop because they gapped down so much. But I wasn't. And so I shorted into the ramp. I posted the trades. You guys can check them out. But these were both some really nice A-plus setups that I was prepared for, that I took advantage of. And I think that they're going to potentially go back to where they came from. Right over in this 11-12 range. It might take a little bit of time, but I think we'll see it flush out, come back up, and maybe consolidate around this level over the next week or two. But I still think we'll still have a lot of panic, pullback, because last week felt like that day, that time when everybody's like, all right, they finally hit bottom. It's finally safe to buy. And then they started to go. There was a ton of calls that went off, and then that was it. That was it. And, that entire squeeze has now passed, and it's back to kind of liquidation mode. So I want to be aware of that. We've got mRNA I want to stay familiar with. This has been fantastic every single day. The biggest thing is not getting in front of this move. I dabble on it every day in front of it, small, but don't size into a loser, and, you should be okay for the most part, in my opinion. You can see how key, VWAP is. It comes right back up to that level. But I'm just looking for failed fall through momentum. For those of you guys who are familiar with Emil, his high-a-day reject, same kind of situation. I'm just looking for it to, fail at that next breakout and then look to put on the trade. But I still would love to be there for when it cracks 45 and maybe unwinds under 40. SM was a great one. Friday's goal was to get short. Once again, you can see this look left opportunity, right? So you got 425, you got 425. So you don't want to get bent up before 425, but you can assume that it's probably going to have a little bit of resistance at that level. So I got short into that morning ramp and, faded it throughout the day. You can see we pretty much went back to this day's support. Again, look left. And so basically I'd be looking for maybe a 360 push and then potential continuation of an unwind. Just be familiar with the overall sector. Make sure you're not stepping in front of, a sector type of move. MDGS was fantastic. So was MYO. These were both two great trades. MDGS on Friday. It's really hot, by the way. This is where you get the borrows. Everybody couldn't find MDGS, couldn't find MYO. Center point is always the answer. Everybody's always like, what broker do you use? And it's E-Trade and it's Center Point. But most of my volume is at Center Point. So MDGS, I borrowed the stock early. I had an overnight trade on it. As you guys know, anybody that watched the video last week, as well as Scan, on every day last week I had it on Scan. I mentioned that I was swinging. So you really couldn't screw it up. It went 80% right away. And so anyway, nice little move off the open, and Newsletter kept on buying and buying and buying and buying. So what you do is you get this free look at, how it's reacting to all these sheep buying, right? So if something is continually going up, 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 and then they buy it again and it doesn't really budge, they buy it again, it doesn't really budge, and then they try one more time to finally squeeze everybody out, because that's what they do. They're using their flow, their subscribers to try to do that breakout move. They're trying to force them into it. And when it doesn't budge, breakout, fail, breakout, fail, breakout, fail. You as a potential shorter get a free look at what's going to happen when a bunch of volume comes at that, because that's what they're all coming in at the same time trying to buy the breakout and manipulate the move through a higher day, right? And sometimes they get it. But other times when it just hits a wall and it fails, you get that free look. You get to know, and as a trader, as a somebody that might be faster than most of their subscribers, for example, you have that free look that, hey, if you get short, you already know that it's not going to break out. As soon as they realize it, and whether it's 5 seconds, 10 seconds, a minute later, it's going down. And so that's what I look for. And that's why I warned on MDGS right here on Twitter. I said, hey, if this thing's going to squeeze higher, it's got to pull back a lot, because it's retail crowded right now. And all that means is, everybody's on the same side trying to force that breakout, and it's not budging. So pay attention to what the tape is telling you. And so that's an example of that. Same thing with MYO. Pay attention to what the tape is telling you. There's no reason for this thing to run. Once again, look left. So, you had this nice move right off the open, faded back, squeezes back. Look left gives you a kind of an indication of where you potentially could start into the trade. It doesn't mean you got to hammer into it, but it's a great starting point. And then obviously trade worked out beautifully. No reason to go. Once again, Newsletter shoving sheep into the offers, trying to force a breakout, fabricate a move. Didn't work. Where do they all go? They go to the bid side, pulls back. FLDM. FLDM was a monster. Huge alert in the room. Right over here. And 240s, 246, had a big offer. So I swiped some of that. That was fantastic. I sold too early, of course, but I ended up getting a nice flip short a couple of the times, and I like this as an opportunity on Monday. So hopefully it ramps back up to this 380 range, 370s, and then potentially fails to follow through. We'll see what happens with that. A couple continuation ideas. THMO, this was another one. Anybody that watched the video scan last week knows the idea was to accumulate in the mid sevens quietly. I was looking for consolidation in the mid sevens for a PSTI style breakout. PSTI we had just seen, kind of ramp up, squeeze out, pull back, consolidate, and then take on that next leg. Same thing. So, I got fortunate. I was in it from about a 760 average, and it went straight to 14. You couldn't really screw it up. So I was, giddy and, selling And I was like, you know what? This might actually hold on. So I actually put on more after I had sold some into the flushes, into the dips, and we'll see what happens. So if it continues to fail, then I'll move on. But for right now, it seems like they've got a little bit of a base here at 10, 1020s, 1050s. So if we start to peak out at 1020s, then I'll reevaluate my decision to hold. But I've locked in a lot, and at this point, I'm just kind of letting it work. BHAT, this one was a nice little grinder on Friday. I just joined. You can see there's a little buyer in the tape on the daily chart. Nothing that I'm too excited about, but I had good volume, so I put on a few. If it starts to work, I'll add. Sometimes I just dabble in a couple names that look good, and if they start to go, I start to scale. And then I think, last but not least, on bigger picture kind of continuation type trades, AKER, we talked about this one. I already had a great trade off the 350s, and then I noticed a consistent buyer in there on Friday. So I just started to scoop with them. Whether or not it's a good idea, we'll see. But I have a position, and I'm looking for. Ideally, they put out another PR soon, and it does something like MDGS because it's set up for it. And if you guys remember, this was the one I was talking about, a potential liquidity trap. Ended up fading off. Didn't hold the trend that I wanted to see, but that doesn't mean you forget about it. So it's already had a huge history, so we know that there is potential there. Other than that, I had BILI, Momo, and TAL on watch. Those are Chinese names. I've just noticed a big, red candle. Definitely some pressure on these names. So I want to keep an eye on these. I want to look for two things. One, if they continue to sell off, I'd love to join them. And then when they start to really panic out, potential, reversal trade. So Momo was my trade on Friday. I just joined it. It completely kind of unwound, and I just was joining that trend. Once again, you can see VWAP helps you out. But I just want to see those names. And then I have a bunch of names that I just want to see once. Not looking to trade them all. As I've said, I'm not trying to overload with tickers to trade. My main watches, I gave 3 or 4. But I want to be familiar with these other charts. And the reason for that is just like CCL, NCLH. You think that I just saw those one day and was like, I'm going to short? No. It's because I start to stock the move, right? You start to get familiar with how it's trading. You start to see these big moves, and then you wait, and you wait, and you wait. And then when it starts to do what you were expecting, that's when you react. So same thing with NAT. You guys saw that move last week. BBBY, same concept, made the same trade on both. And so with that said, Overstock, watching that one, APA. And by the way, I have the link to the scan, the full scan in the description. So you can click that and you can see I wrote out my thoughts as well, not just this. But MIST, staying familiar. MIST, there we go. SDC, nice move on, I don't know why I keep on hitting A. SDC, nice move on the daily lately. It did have one big crack on Friday, and it ended up holding down from that point. I think it was right over here, just flushed out and continued to fade off. I think it might have been the day before. Yeah, right over here. It kind of went out and then slammed down. So basically, I'd say that there's probably a seller in the 770s range, and the next level, you look at the prior support, which is basically 735, 740. So in a situation like this, I look for 740s. I want to set a price alert at 740s, 770s. GME nearing another breakout. AVEO has been a nice breakout the last few days. I just want to stay familiar with it. ASGN, you can see why I like it. Straight up. So right into some daily resistance some daily VWAP resistance. Uber, I want to stay familiar with. If we start to get rocky in the market, I think this thing continues to unwind. This was a pretty clean setup. I missed it, but when there isn't a ton of things to trade, I like to go back to the BACs, the Ubers, when the market starts to trend 500, 600, 700, 800 points. So again, I did those rapid fire because I don't have a plan for each one. I just want to see them once. That's all I want to see. And then tomorrow morning, I'm going to look at them again, and I'm going to set those price alerts so that, when it hits certain levels, it says beep, hey, Uber's under, 28. Uber's over 29. And then I'll know that I should care about it. But if it's just bouncing around in between here, I shouldn't have it on screen. So that's the goal. Again, I only have GNMK, SPCE, ARCT as main watches. I'll probably be watching those cruise lines. Again, they've been great, but although they've been great, you need to be aware, right? Because we get comfortable. They were really big gains the last 2 days, which can bring overconfidence. So if that is the case, then sometimes you kind of push, and it's the wrong thing to do. So you want to make sure you're aware of that. And then, like I said, mRNA. Hopefully, I'm just there for that unwind under 45, 40s, whatever the case may be. So if you guys have any questions about joining the room, reach out. If you haven't jumped in the room yet, there is a link to the volatility sale that we had going on. You can go ahead and check that out. And then I finally figured out this the t-shirt thing, and I'm going to have somebody send them out for me. And so that's going to be good. But let me just go ahead and pick a winner. If I can find out how to do this, upload. There we go. And let's see. Adrian Sanchez, you are the t-shirt winner this week. So go ahead and email me and your size and your address. And again, like I said, we finally figured this out. So I've got a guy that's going to make a bunch of shirts and ship them out for me. So I'm looking forward to doing that again. Like I said, I just haven't been to the post office. Given that my wife is 9 months pregnant, I'm not taking any chances. So I've been keeping a list of everybody that's won. But as this starts to as everything starts to happen, I'll go ahead and get back out there again. But anyway, thank you guys for always leaving comments. Write your key takeaway. That's the biggest thing that I like to take, because I want to know what you guys relate with. I want to know what you guys take from this, because it helps me kind of steer the conversation. So reach out again if you have any questions. And as always, have a good rest of the weekend.